it's cracking.
We're good. It's on. All right.
All right, is it on?
Yep.
All right.
We're live, boys.
We're live. Okay. How you guys doing?
Not too fucking bad.
Okay. So, I got a question for you. All right. What do you got? What's money to you guys? What do you guys think money is?
Almost what rules the world right about now.
Money. Well, money basically, it kind of characterizes you in a way.
Okay.
It's not about how much you have, it's about character. Usually people with more money have more character, so it kind of ties together.
For sure. Ben?
I feel like the main reason like people chase the bag so much is like they just want to be comfortable. Like I feel like if you have a shitload of money, you don't have as much to worry about. I mean, you have a lot more obligations and responsibilities, especially like in whatever you work in and outside of that. But like still you're comfortable in like because you have money, you're able to do certain things outside of that. So that's kind of my outlook on it.
Yeah, I get that. I think like you're saying, money ties to like I think it comes with added freedoms. The more money you have, the more freedom you have. Basically, I think it has a direct correlation to freedom. But I mean, what it really comes down to then is how do you make money? And I think when it comes down to money, at least in today's day and age, if you're young and you're trying to make money, I think especially with your friends, like whenever you're together, the topic of the conversation at hand should always be about money. Like, what is money? Where does it come from? How do you make it? I think if you're really trying to make it in today's day and age, you really have to focus and kind of zone in young, especially if you want to escape this perpetual so-called rat race nowadays. So I think that's something really important is basically understanding it before you even start chasing the bag.
I feel like I did. Oh, go for it now.
It's important to realize this at a young age because once you get older, like you're 50, 60, maybe even younger, like 30, like you're already in this. You graduated college with a degree, you're in your dead-end job, making, I don't know, 80 to 90K, maybe a little bit more, and you have a family, and you can't really take risks when you have a family because you're putting them on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree to that. That's what I'm saying. It's always risk versus reward. And I think it's better to take risks when you're young, especially when you still live with your parents, because you don't realize you might. Let's say you work for money, you work a few months, and you make some money, but then you risk that money. Let's say you even end up losing it. Well, now you still have something to fall back on. You still live with your parents, you still have a roof over your head, food on the table. And I think people don't understand. It's kind of like you said, Nick, is especially when you get older. And people tend to realize like they have so-called midlife crisis, right? Especially when you get older and you kind of realize, my life is shit. I don't really like how, everything played out. I don't like how I'm kind of locked in. And let's say you have, a family, like, spouse and kids. That can be a problem because at that point you're so locked in, it is almost impossible to break free. And, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's almost impossible to break free. So that's why you really got to kind of wake up at a young age because what people don't understand is, in my opinion, slavery is still a thing. So, back in the ages of slavery, right, what did the slaves do? They worked all day. And what did they get in return? They got, they got food on the table and a house to sleep under the slave owners, right? But that's all they did was work, and then they slept somewhere, and they got food on the table. Well, now what do you do nowadays? You get up, you go to work, and from work you get a paycheck. And what do you do with that paycheck? You get, you pay for food on the table and you pay for a roof to sleep under. Now with additive freedoms, of course, but this idea of slavery is you're still always working for somebody else. I think is still in play.
Because you're not really working for, like, you're getting money out of it, of course, but that's to live, like, semi-comfortably. But you're working for someone else, basically, and they're making the money. They're the ones in the fancy like a fancy house and driving fancy cars. You're not.
I know, dude. That's why, like, even before I kind of woke up, I always hated the idea of a 9 to 5, because I can't even fathom the idea of how I need to, like, put forth as much effort as I possibly can and work as hard as I can at anything I'm doing, job, whatever, and watch it benefit somebody else more than it benefits myself. That idea just doesn't sit right with me. So because of that, that's why like I know I'm going to be some sort of entrepreneur, self-employed, something where I'm going to make money on myself, and my work isn't benefiting someone else more than it is myself.
If you want to make money in this world, I feel like most of the time you can't rely on other people to make money, because if you go to a job, you're working for someone else, you're relying on that company to make you money. Therefore, if you have your own company or you're making money by yourself, it's up to you. You can make as much as you want. You can make as much as you want. There's nothing stopping you.
Oh no, I 100% agree.
Yeah, but like when it comes to like making money, like in my opinion, fortunately, you have to rely on everyone because even as an entrepreneur, like sales can be good, but you're going to go through a time where things aren't as good. Like when I sold shoes, like especially during like the time everyone was receiving like fucking stimulus checks and stuff, like things were a lot better because people didn't care about money as much. They were working from home. They're getting money from the government to sit on their ass. So, I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like you have to ultimately rely on others because, like, when it comes to being an entrepreneur, it's all about, like, what products you're selling and the demand it has. So, yeah, I don't know.
No, I 100% agree, and I'm kind of going to go into a little bit of a ramble here, so follow me if you can. But what I think in today's day and age is, like, kind of like I said, slavery is still a thing, but now they've switched the war from physical to mental, because if they physically can't control us anymore, but what you don't realize is the second you're spawned or like you're born into this world, you're automatically being manipulated by society, and that's the problem that people don't realize. The second you actually take a second to step back, you realize that everything surrounding you is manipulating you to kind of live in a certain way, and you're kind of being controlled by like these puppet masters to kind of follow a certain path that they kind of pave the way for you. So like I think it's kind of crazy. Like let's say I go to a bank, right? This is just how crazy. Like society has a strict path they want you to walk down. Because let's say I'm 18 and I'm working with my brother who's 21, right? And I go into a bank and I have a completely thought out business plan, step by step. And I say, here's what I want to do, here's how I'm going to do it, here's how it's going to work. And I explain the entire thing to him with the plans laid out and everything, right? And let's say I want $10,000, me and my brother together, right? So $5,000 each, $10,000 in total. The chances of us getting approved for that loan are slim to none. But if I walk into a bank at 18 years old and I ask for a $100,000 loan for school, I will probably be out of that bank within 30 minutes. So what they don't realize is what people don't realize is that they have such a strict path paid for you, and you're being manipulated the second you are born into this earth. And the problem with today's day and age is I love technology, but it can have such a negative impact on you where you don't realize is how they manipulate you. How they manipulate you is through social media and these broadcasts, because it's all about influence. Everything's about influence. What you don't realize though is that when you actually step back and you step away from your social media personality, your thoughts or when your thoughts subside from your social media personality, your thoughts seem so vacacious and mundane, because you don't realize that like that's how they get you and that's how they manipulate you. Because let's say we have someone, right, and they are their name is Bob, right, and the second they're born, right, someone tells them 2 + 2 = 5, right. Well, if everything around Bob is conditioned to make him believe 2 + 2 = 5, he will forever live with the lie that 2 + 2 = 5, right? And he doesn't realize that. So that's kind of how the whole like society is working right now. They're messing with your neurochemistry, your IQ, your creativity. They're taking it all away from you as you get older, and you follow this system. So if you don't realize what they're doing before it's too late, you're kind of taking part in this mass school of fish that just kind of goes through the system. That's like, go to school, get a high school degree, go to college, pay off student loans, buy a mortgage, work 40 years, pay off your mortgage, and then invest long term in the stock market, right? Yeah. That's what they want. But it's okay. The couple, the oddballs that kind of break free, they're okay with that. They're just interested in controlling this mass fluctuation of fish. But that's the problem with society, what people don't realize is there's such a set path that they want you to follow, and if you don't realize that sooner rather than later, then it's a problem and it's harder to get off that path.
Yeah. Do you think when you're in school, do you think ADHD or ADD? Do you think think about it, like you have ADD and you have ADHD, and at a young age you're giving meds, that completely, my brother had ADD, he has ADD, and he was given meds. It completely changed him as a person. Yeah, no. It really changed him as a person. I really noticed that because I don't have any ADHD or anything. Yeah. But what I noticed is that they give these kids this drug at or whatever drugs they give. There's a bunch of them, I think. But it completely limits the positive effects of those gifts they were given born.
in the moment it like helps them like kind of relax, because I know like I have friends that are actually like on like antidepressants and like anti-anxiety medication, and it's literally like medication that's like a similar compound to like Xanax, so it's just
unreal.
it literally will just like it's like kind of smoking like a fucking bong, like a fucking bowl real quick, but it's like intensified times 10.
It completely numbs you, like, emotionally.
Exactly.
It takes away all your thought
It's
process.
truly
so
unbelievable.
So you can wiggle your way back into the masses because you were different.
Yeah, so doing that, it's just like your body forgets how to like naturally process like those chemicals and like hormones, you know? So that's,
And medication today is such a problem, dude. And I guess that's a topic we'll move into it, and I want to move into it in a second. Like how you know in today's society you're so like told like that it's okay to be this, and this, right? And they force feed you. They pill push all these things on you. For example, I'm someone who suffers from pretty bad ADHD, but someone who used to be medicated. I don't really take meds anymore, and I kind of realized that early on. But like that's kind of different. But especially when it comes to antidepressants, that's a whole other thing, because personally, I think I don't really. I'm not gonna say it's not real, but I don't believe in depression negatively, like kind of taking over your mind, because the way I look at it is the mind is the most powerful thing. The mind is the most powerful thing in the human body. If you can't control your mind, you are so far gone that it's almost, if you can't control your mind, you're so far gone that you're almost helpless. Because I can't control what anything else is, right? I can't control what you do. I can't control what the weather is. I can't control what color, this table is. I can't do any of that. The only thing on the face of this earth I can control is my mind. So if I cannot take control of my mind, that's a serious, serious problem. So I look at it as like, when you see like, if you're one of these people who's like, like I need therapy, I'm depressed, all this bullshit, you know what you are? In my opinion, you're useless. Because in the harshest realities of this cold world, there's people in Syria whose families have been blown to fuck by a bomb from the sky, but they still get up every day and make and sell bread on the streets so they can afford a new pair of sandals sometime next year. Yeah. So like, it's true. I mean, that's true. And okay, as I'm saying, that's what I'm referring to. So what people also understand is like, for example, therapy, right? Therapy. People say like, oh, I need therapy, I need this, right? Physical therapy, okay, cool. Mental therapy, I think it's pointless. If you're gonna go tell your problems to some therapist that doesn't give a shit and probably just coke on the weekends, like it's crazy. Like, here, let me tell you a story from a documentary, right? There was a woman from Germany who was on a plane, right? And the plane went down. There was a plane crash. Every single person on the plane died except for her. She woke up 2 days later, still strapped in her seat, next to her decapitated mother. And what she did then is she went off and she ventured into the forest, trying to look for, goods and things to survive, right? Well, eventually she started to get sick, she got infections, whatever. She finally went to go lay down and die and succumb to the fever that the forest had, bestowed upon her after being in there. When she went to go lay down and die, some locals found her and nourished her back to health. And, after a few months, whatever, she flew back to Germany and she flew back to her dad, who thought she was dead. And then the reporter, whoever was, asking her the questions, who was interviewing her, basically said, well, what, you didn't go get therapy or anything? She's like, well, no, back then I didn't have any therapy. So after 2 weeks, after 2 weeks of being home, this person went back and got a job. But I think it's crazy, in today's day and age, when someone fucking is mean to you online and you want to go pay a therapist hundreds of dollars an hour to go talk about that. That's truly crazy to me. Because when people say, like, again, I don't believe, people often underestimate the power of the mind. I don't believe in things that take power away from me. Another thing I do not do is adopt thinking people that are sad. When I say this, depressed people often try to convince you that I'm wrong. Like, why the fuck would I want to think like you when you don't want to live anymore? Why would I want to think like you when you want to kill yourself and I'm perfectly fine? Adopting the thinking of somebody who doesn't want to live anymore is probably the most stupid, asinine, inane, childish, ridiculous thing a functioning adult can do. If you're depressed, I don't want to think anything like you. But for those people who say they are depressed, depression is fantastic motivation. But you, again, like they tell you, take the pill, stay home, take the day off, it's okay, wrong. Like if you're depressed, I make a huge list of everything everything you're accomplishing each day, and that's what I'm saying. Like, what people don't understand is discontentment and unhappiness is supposed to motivate you, but you've been tricked by the modern world into thinking that that's conditioned. There's something wrong with you. That there's a problem with you. There's some sort of condition, right? Completely incorrect. If you're depressed and you feel like shit, that's supposed to be warning you
It's
that
warning
your
your
life
life
is
is
that your
shit.
life is shit, right?
Yeah,
It should
get your
push you to
shit-
do. It should
get your
push you to
shit
do
back.
harder.
Like,
It should
get-
push you
get
to.
back
It should
together.
inspire you to push
Put the puzzle pieces back
push
together.
you to work harder. That's how I view things. That's how I believe it is.
This go back to the schooling system. Like, if you're a kid, like, you're happy running around, right? And then over the grades and time, everyone just kind of goes into like a depressive state towards your end of your senior year of high school. Think about it. Senior year of high school, the teachers don't give a fuck, everyone doesn't give a fuck. And that's how the schooling system is supposed to output you as. You're accustomed to going to work every day, school, and you're depressed and you have no say in everything. So you get pumped out of the schooling system, going to work for the rest of your life. Is it, like, there's got to be ways to get out of that.
That's what it is, bro. That's what I'm saying. That is the rat race, bro. That's like I said. You know, it's
That
part
is
of
the
path
rat race, yeah.
that they paid for you. That's already paid for you when you come onto this earth. And you know, I think there are a lot of ways out of that, but it's hard to wake up, bro. But again, the first thing I think you need to do before you try to escape is you got to be able to conquer your mind, because it all really starts and it all goes back to is like your mind. And sometimes what you don't realize is like you might get up and write, and like as a man, like you have to understand as a man, there's things that you're supposed to be doing every day. But as a man, there might not always be things you want to do, but you're not supposed to only do things you want to do. As a man, you're supposed to do the things you're supposed to do and you need to do, not what you want to do. And that's sometimes what it requires to break free. And you have to understand that people, I lack motivation, I don't want to do this, I don't do that. You have to understand, you're never going to be permanently motivated to do anything. It's always discipline over motivation. You have to be disciplined.
Yep.
You gotta.
That's how life is in my thing. Like, I don't know. The way I'm looking at this generation is like things are so like easily accepted. It's like made us like even softer. Like, I do not like mean to be like. I mean this is a negative like connotation, but like when it comes to like pronouns, for example.
Oh, dude.
Yes. I feel
Like
like
all that shit. I'm like, bro. Like, do you really need to like push so hard to like really feel that accepted? I just like I don't know. It's just like. Makes this whole generation extremely soft, like especially when I look at like my dad like coming as an immigrant, like the way they worked in their 20s compared to like how we are and like the way we
It's
live.
crazy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a night and day difference. Like they can only dream to do something like that. So
The opportunity is unreal.
yeah, I don't know. This whole generation is like pretty fucked, and
Dude,
it's
I
like
hate this generation.
yeah, it's like you said, manipulated from like the time like we were put into school, honestly, and everything that we're surrounded with.
Yeah, and let me quickly move on. Are we done with the school? Because I was gonna say something.
I was gonna talk about the school.
Okay.
I was gonna talk about how society's so soft. I feel like you could take advantage of that if you have a strengthened mind.
That's very true.
If you think about it, all these people are gonna be soft for the rest of their lives and don't change their ways. But people like us, if we have a strong mind and we think differently from them, we will surpass them in every way possible, and they will be stuck there, and that just makes things easier for us.
That's how it should be, though. You should get up. It's always you versus you. Never compare yourself to anybody but your previous self yesterday. You should, if you don't get up and you don't look in the mirror and you don't see the best possible version of yourself, if you're not looking in the mirror, you're not saying, I'm doing everything I can to be the best version of myself, then you're doing something wrong. You should always be trying to be the best version of yourself you can be. And Ben, let's move on to your topic. We were talking about how, this generation's soft. I would 100% agree, dude, with pronouns and stuff. Like, that's why in today's day and age, you're trying to masculinize women and feminize men.
Yeah.
It's crazy, dude. I don't understand. That's part of the way they're trying to take control of the society is through the manipulation like that. But, dude, like, let's move on to an interesting topic. I've been canceled off Instagram. I've been permanently banned off Instagram. I got banned off Twitter once. But again, I'm willing to speak my mind. I'll tell you right now. So let's move on to a topic about, like, feminism. What do you guys think about feminism?
Dog, we're on YouTube. We can't talk about this.
Yeah.
Don't do anything negative about this, because we're gonna get fucking booted.
No, listen. Okay, I'm not talking negative. Listen.
I know you're talking negative, bro.
I'm not going to talk negative. I'm going to say what I feel, which, might have a negative little turn of it. But listen, basically what I'm going to say is, like, when I think about feminism, like, the aspect of, like, equal rights between the two, I 100% understand. But they get it mixed up. First of all, I think it's funny how feminism goes right out the window when it comes to doing something like mowing the lawn or shoveling the snow. That's really funny. Or, they also want to feminize males, but when they're in a, seriously dangerous physical situation, who are they going to call? A feminized man, a submissive man to come to the rescue, or a toxic masculine police officer. They're going to call that police officer to come, protect and, fend for them. But, what I think is crazy is feminism, as a whole is basically, this movement around like, equal rights and stuff. But what they don't understand is they're not pushing for equal rights. They're pushing for exceeded rights against males.
Yeah.
And what I think is like, the way I look at it is like, if you're a man, you earn respect by being a man, and if you're a female, you earn respect by being a female. You both earn respect, but me as a male, I feel like I earn respect by being, a masculine person who, provides for his family and works and, takes care of his women, or women, taking care of women, or women, I guess it depends on the situation. But, or if you're a female, you get, respect by having, feministic traits, like, looking good, taking care of, men in certain aspects, dressing nice, in female aspects. You get respect by doing different things, And I think it's crazy that the argument, it comes down to, like, feminism isn't even a real thing without males, okay? Let's get that, out of the way. Feminism can't even be a real thing without males. And I think, basically, at the end of the day, like, it's crazy, like, I look at it in that. Now, before you guys say anything, right, let me finish what I'm about to say. I guess today's modern technology might be a little different, but when it comes down to it, again, before you guys jump in, let me finish this whole thing, because it's going to seem crazy. I think it's worse when a woman cheats on a man than when a man cheats on a woman. And the reason not the loyalty aspect or the respect aspect, that's completely 100% equal. But when it really comes down to it, right, let's say, for example, like if you look at people like Alexander the Great and all these old world conquerors, they all had multiple wives, right? But when it comes down to it, let's say, there's a man who has a wife, right? But he's cheating with 4 females, right? So there's four girls he's fucking, right? Let's say one of those girls or all those girls get pregnant. They immediately know who the father is, right? But let's say the roles are, switched, and the woman is the one cheating with 4 different guys. If she automatically gets pregnant, she's gonna, expect that the man or the men are supposed to take care of her, fend for, buy her things, make sure she's, taken care of while she's pregnant. But then the man is gonna be like, well, you were cheating on me with all these people, how do you know that's mine? Like, bounce, get the fuck out of here. Like, it doesn't matter. I guess with today's modern society, it's different. But, like, when it comes down to it with biology, I think it's worse when a woman cheats on a man. But in respect and loyalty aspect,
scientifically,
biologically, yes.
So speaking of this feminism thing, so when a girl, like, think about it. If you have a guy and a girl, right, completely different. Like, I feel like that men are better at certain things than women are. Like men are better at certain things that women aren't as good at. But women are better at things that men are. You know what I'm saying here? So like a girl can, let's say, like I say, a woman like is a better mom. Like she can raise the kid. Like that's what biologically, like a girl, any like animals or anything, like anything. They're better at raising children. They're supposed to take, but men are more of like the workhorse.
Yeah,
the workhorse. They're like getting food, scavenging, whatever. Like in the past, they would go out and hunt. Like in the nomadic tribes back when humans were first going around the globe, like the men would go out and hunt and like make tools and like defend shit, and the women would always be back in the house doing their job. They would be cooking,
taking care of the kids,
taking care of the young, and just keeping that side of the society organized when the men are out doing the dirty work. Each gender has a specific job that they do best. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's how society's always been. And it's worked wonderful.
Okay, I'm going to kind of bring it back to the future now, right? Here's what I'm just going to say. Let's see all being, young males working towards our goals, right? What I'm going to say, at the end of the day is, be the coolest version of you. Be the best man that you can be. If you meet women along the way that's going to abide by the program, man, that's good. But don't ever go out your way for a female, because they will not go out their way for you. Even the ones that are attracted to you are not. So, I think how it is in today's day and age is like, honestly, just lock in, man. I think the biggest thing nowadays, like I was telling you, is everybody has social media and stuff, but like, sometimes you just gotta put the phone down. Sometimes you gotta figure out who you are. And, I have a lot of people ask me because, I worked with a lot of things, I've seen some pretty good, results with some of the things I've done. Like, I got big dreams to be rich and famous or, just rich, but, I got so many things I want to do. I just don't know how to get there. It's like, I think you gotta really remove yourself from all this stuff, all these distractions, and
Do what you want to do.
do what you want to do, exactly.
Yeah,
But like
yeah.
sometimes people aren't used to being distant like that. It might make you upset.
You
But
can't
like
care what they think.
exactly,
You gotta do
I
what
feel
you
like
wanna do, yeah.
doing that will like really trigger that thing in your brain that just makes you think like what you really want to do and what you want to do in the long run.
Yeah.
But what I'm gonna tell you all right now is with my journey with making money online and stuff. I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. Like it's so much discipline. Like I'm gonna tell you right now, all of you, if you guys are all interested in doing this, like it's a mental journey that very few people have ever been on because you're taking your mind into these terrible, dark places all the time. But you must stay in the darkness, dude, because you find no fucking answers in the light. Nothing. But I'm telling you, you all soon will understand that polarity is key. There's no good without bad, and there can't be light without dark,
Yeah.
You need to uncomfortably live for a few years if you want to live decades of freedom.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it comes down to you need to learn to comfortably live uncomfortably, and a lot of that comes with discipline.
And that on being uncomfortable, you'll like adapt to being uncomfortable. Even though,
Of
and then
course.
you'll end up thinking, this is uncomfortable. And then you can go even beyond that and be uncomfortable again, even more uncomfortable.
Kind of like when you jump in a cold pool for the first time, right? Your
Yes.
body adapts.
Your
after
body
a few minutes.
adapts.
You have to get used to.
And then you
have
go
to,
into
you have to
cold water.
like. You have to like that feeling of being comfortable. You have to like the feeling of stress, and that's what another. Like I said
colder.
today. At the end of the day, life comes down to, and money comes down to how much stress you can handle. The amount of stress you can handle is the amount of money you can make. You have to, as a man trying to work towards his goals, you have to be stressed. It's good to, be 17, 18 years old, have those sleepless nights, staying up all night, being like, I don't know what I want to do, I want to do this, and this, right? And really, like, think and work toward that and, be stressed. Like, that's good. That's good as a young individual. And what I recommend is, especially if you're trying to, like, if you're, 17, 18, 19 years old, and you're like, oh, I'm trying to, get rich and do better, what I'm going to say is, like, I think try to change your daily habits. Don't just change your actions, but change the habits that'll make you, into a better person. Like, let's say you come home every day, you watch YouTube for 2 hours, right? Instead of, consuming content, maybe try creating content, Try changing up the things you're doing on your day-to-day basis. Switch it, right? That can help you be a better person in the long run. That's why you have to be a strategical thinker. You have to, if you always think, fuck, all right, I'm in a bad situation here. What's the best course of action I can take, right? Like, it's always thinking, think about the long run, right? Like, let's say if you're not feeling good, right? You feel like shit, you're tired, you're sore because you just went to the gym, and, it's the next day, you're tired, so you don't want to go. In the moment, the right choice, and the right thought is like, yeah, it'd be better to give my body a rest and, take the day off. But, if you think in the long run, it'll be more beneficial to put in the work now, right? So, it actually benefits you and it molds you into that future self you want to be. Because I tell people it's often good to not look for temporary dopamine, to fill a void that you're feeling. If you're not feeling good or something, don't often look for temporary dopamine. Put in the work, go through the struggle, to have a better result in the long run. That's how I look at it. And I think especially if your goal is to, get rich and be on top and escape this rat race, you really got to put in the work now. There is no such thing as a day off. Like saving time here, doing this. It's really just work, as hard as you possibly can. You can always work harder. There's always someone who's probably thinking just like you and working just as hard as you. And then, you're tired and you take some time off. Well, that person's not taking time off. There's always someone who's working harder than you. And that's what I think. And that's why I always try to work as hard as I can and be the best version of myself I can.
Going back to the being uncomfortable thing, I think that's the biggest thing, I learned, especially in high school, when I was, actually making money, I got comfortable with where I was at, and, going back to it, that's, the worst part, because you should never be comfortable with where you're at, because you want to be uncomfortable, and,
not satisfied.
Yeah, exactly, because you want to continue pushing. You don't want to ever be satisfied with where you're at. You want to strive for more. You want to do better. So even with school, even with life, going to the gym, if you don't feel good, you still push yourself. You're gonna be uncomfortable in the gym, but you still go. You still push through with it, because that's life. You're gonna be feeling shitty. You're not things aren't gonna be going well all the time, but you're still gonna have to push through it. You're gonna be uncomfortable no matter what. So I don't know, yeah, biggest thing I definitely learned, and I think would be a big piece of advice for
and one thing I will say is, a piece of advice I recommend is, being young social individuals, who like to go out and have fun and stuff. If you're trying to get your life together, and your friends get in the way of that, that's actually really useful for you because you've now identified who your friends aren't. And you might tell yourself, well, I can give them up. It's like, oh, not only can you, you should, and it will be better for them. Because if they're aiming down and they want you going down with them, there's nothing good about what's happening to them, and there's surely nothing good about what's happening to you. Like, what you don't understand is you cannot, sometimes when you're ready to make a move, you're ready to get off that step. Not everyone has that hustling mentality. Not everyone has that mindset. Some people are comfortable at the bottom, but the moment you try to make a move, the moment you try to make get off that step, they don't want to come to you no more. They're comfortable on that step. So that's why I don't remember who said it, but like someone gave an example of like, right, when you're like a rocket, right, and you're propelling into space, right. Rockets have thrusters, right? And those thrusters, I picture those thrusters as friends. They might often help you, go up, but at a point, sometimes if you're still trying to go up, but they're comfortable, they're satisfied, those thrusters, at a certain altitude, when the rocket keeps going, those thrusters kind of, break away and they go off into the atmosphere, but the rocket keeps going up. That's how I look at it with friends sometimes. If they're bringing you down, or they're not ready to come, continue going up with you on that upward spiral, then, sometimes you have to distance yourself from those people. And, like, I think in terms of, like, a friend group, like, if your friend group doesn't inspire you and the people don't push you to do better, be a better version of yourself, and you don't look up to people in your friend group, then I don't think you have a friend group. I think you have a cage, man. I really think the people, you should learn from your friends, they should learn from you. You guys should all inspire each other, because then that just creates that upward spiral where you can all just work and network with each other and keep, going up.
I feel like as a friend though, there's only like so much you can do and say, and like, I mean like some friends like, it's hard to just like let go of someone just because their ambitions and motivations are a little different. As long as like you're in your own lane and like I feel like you're still giving them advice and you're trying to help them, but you're not forcing it into their life in that sense. I feel like, I don't know. For me, I kind of look at it slightly a little different.
Hey, 100%. I get what you're saying, 100%. I guess maybe I shouldn't have said, eradicate them from your life. That's not really what I said. Maybe I'm just saying, like, if they're, get rid of them if they're negatively impacting you, No, if they're there and they're your friend, right, but they're not ambitious, they're comfortable with where they're at, they're satisfied, whatever.
That's on them.
It's fine, that's on them. Yeah. They can be satisfied and, they can be with you, but, like, don't let them distract you from your vision, right? And that's another thing that, it brings me to, it's so, when you have a vision, like Andrew Tate said, when you have a vision, dude, right? You're that rocket going up into space. A rocket doesn't pause halfway up the fucking atmosphere and then continue to go again, right? Right? No, right? But it needs that momentum. It needs to keep going. That's when discipline comes into play because you need to keep going up, right? In order to break through from the atmosphere. And I think it really comes down to mentality. Like I've said, the mind is the most powerful thing in the human body. You need to have control over your mind. What's so important and what helped me work so hard and why I work so hard and how I've seen so much results is because what it comes down to is you need to have a goal and work. Sometimes your dream might be big, but working towards your dreams makes it so much easier, and you're not just hoping for it to happen, right? So I think it's so important that you have a goal. You have to have a vision of where you want to go, and then your subconscious mind, you have to actually be able to see. You have to visually, be able to see yourself at your goal. Once you can actually see yourself where you want to be, it makes it so much easier. So it makes working towards everything so much easier, and like it just comes to you it's much quicker, much easier. But that subconscious mind is so important to be able to see where you want to go, and be able to picture yourself there.
Bro, especially at like such a young age, like 19, 20, like
that's not what they're focused on. They're focused on partying, drinking.
Yeah, like you have 10 years until you're 30. Like 10 years is a decade is quite a long time. So like seriously set yourself up. Like you could really like end up retiring by the time like you're 40 if you really wanted to. It's all about how I feel like you use your time now, and like the amount of like knowledge and like everything you're captivating is like really really good, because like compared to other kids, bro, like they're not focused on this type of shit. Like they're more focused on like socializing and making connections, which is good. But like with that, there comes so many other distractions.
Of course,
like
there's a balance. There's a good balance point, but you have to understand the skill weighs heavily on the side.
Even with balance, I feel like there's a lot of like, especially in like econ when I'm learning like fucking like there's a cost to everything.
Absolutely.
Everything. There's a trade in everything we do. There's sacrifices we have to make in order to live certain
risk versus reward.
Exactly.
Like if you're gonna risk, wasting the time going out and partying all of your college life, right? Then the reward you get might not be as great as if you were to have discipline, not go to parties all the time, put in the work while you're younger,
Yep,
And that's what I say, like, what it really comes down to, you could be, anything's possible, but if you seriously want to be successful and, break free, right, from this rat race at such a young age, especially us being, in college here, if you think you can go party every Friday and Saturday night, no, you're wrong. It's completely wrong. You can't. You have to be the distinct 1% that separates themselves and is able to say no. I want to do this. I want to do this, but I should be doing this, and have the discipline to be like, okay, this, even though I might not be wanting to do this, this is a better course of action for me to take to get where I want to go in the long term. And like I said, don't look for that short-term dopamine to satisfy your needs. Be fully satisfied. We'll never be fully satisfied. Always work harder, but be satisfied with where we want to be by achieving that long-term goal. Right? Yeah. That's what I think is so important.
Sometimes I like the big reason I go out and stuff. I'm out there not to exactly I'm not out to get drunk and black out and shit. I'm out to socialize and make connections with people. Just kind of talk to people, get their view on things, and just see who they are. And sometimes you'll find someone that may be like-minded. So I ran into you.
Yeah, no, right.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Like, personally, like I said, if I wasn't basically attending school for free through a scholarship and a 529, I absolutely would not be here because I think school is so pointless in the aspect of learning because, like I said, they have that program. If you follow this path of school, man, I'm not saying it's bad. You'll still learn some things along the way, but you're falling right into that line of people.
You're on the highway.
Exactly, bro.
You're not taking the exit.
Listen, school is a great opportunity. As a young kid to go out there, see what you're made of. Like, listen, I think what I'm learning in school and everything I'm doing is pretty much pointless if I feel like I have the money right, and with the income and stuff, with making money online, where I can drop out. I have enough money where I don't need to be going to school, right? Making enough, but I think it's basically I think it comes down to it's really I think it's a great opportunity in the fact that it's a good test of character. It's really good to see what you're made of, how you can, handle your work, manage your time and stuff. And it's a great opportunity to network with people, right? You can meet new people, who you could possibly, become business partners with, lifelong and stuff. So it's a good opportunity to network and stuff. But the idea of education in school itself just doesn't reside with me, right? I don't like it as an individual. But I'm not saying, again, a lot of people are comfortable with living a normal life. I'm not content with living a normal life, Yeah. I know what I want, and this path of school will not get me there. And that's why I'm not against the idea of school, but I just don't think I should be here.
Bro, the whole idea of school, really realized it more in the beginning of high school. But fucking elementary school and middle school is more your parents are there to kind of assist you in getting into this whole lifestyle that you're preparing for. You wake up early in the morning, you get ready, you eat breakfast, you go to school, you would go to work in the future, you spend 7-8 hours there, you come back home, you do your things, but it's obviously you don't have as many responsibilities and things like that. And once you get to high school, you kind of have a little more freedom, and then college is the ultimate test. You have all the freedom usually, and it's kind of you have to train yourself to really go along this day-to-day plan, which is kind of going to work eventually. But I mean, that's how the whole world is kind of just focused, or not whole world, but the US specifically. It's you have to go to school to get a job and do this, and most kids are just I'm gonna need to go to school because I'm gonna end up working a corporate job, and they don't really try to think outside of the box as much. But with our generation, I feel they did a pretty good job of doing, making money off the internet, doing social media and all kinds of things, They're really creative, but at the same time, there's a big percentage of kids that kind of just fall into this and just really, I don't know, hope for the best in that sense, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, and a lot of it is, there's always that safety net when you kind of play in that. Okay, one thing I like to do personally on my free time is sometimes with a couple friends, I like to go explore some abandoned places, right?
Yeah.
And I ended up finding myself in this huge 2.4 million square feet corporate office headquarters, right? And I saw that, now it was abandoned in 2020 due to COVID, right? but everything was still there. It literally looked like everyone just got up and left, which it looked pretty much what happened. They were still writing on like the note on like the whiteboards in people's cubicles, saying like, "Oh, see you tomorrow," whatever. They looked like everyone got up and left. And the thing is though, is doing that as much as I don't want that already, that scared me so much going into that, because in just like a 500 by 500 square foot radius, there was like 80 different cubicles that were just computer desk chair, computer desk chair, computer desk chair. It was insane, dude. And I can't fathom the idea of that. Like, that's insane.
Everything can just flip like that, bro. It's actually
insane.
It's crazy. It's like the stock market. Like, it's seriously like insane to see how things can just shit the bed so quickly. Like, it's
risk versus reward, man.
Yeah,
it's crazy, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think in today's day and age, like I said, it's kind of like that. Again, going back to that slavery thing.
One more thing. That's why I feel like not everything is promised nowadays, and that's why you have to stay uncomfortable, because you never know what's gonna happen the next day. You don't know how business is gonna be the next month, year. You don't know what's gonna happen.
Absolutely.
So, continue going on.
But yeah, I was gonna say like how this kind of like idea of slavery is the whole thing. Like, the moment you accept a paycheck, you automatically become a slave to money. Now, I'm not saying money's a bad thing, but you just don't want to become a slave to it, because when you rely on that steady source of income, it kind of lets you relax. Like, okay, you know what, I got this, and this,
exactly.
But like I have this income coming in, but it's a set paycheck, right?
Yeah.
And if you're okay with that, then okay, a lot of people are okay with that.
People end up building your life around that.
Exactly, and that's a problem, dude. Because
and then they budget, it's good to budget, but then they budget too much around it, and then they're just like, no, I hear you.
They're kind of just slave to that, 'cause they can't leave. They can barely get it up unless you get promoted. You're working for that promotion, but still, that promotion is only going to get you so far and so far.
And a lot of them are just honestly working corporate government, just like jobs for big companies in general, because of like 401ks and like everything they offer, all the benefits. Like, nowadays, there's a lot of like places offering like medical, dental, and all that, like even pet insurance and shit like that. So I feel like a lot of the benefits are kind of enticing to these people, because they're just like, you know what, like I just like slave away to this big corporate, so everything gets kind of taken care of in that sense, So
yeah, dude. But like, do you really want to work your whole life as just like a worker, like in an anthill, dude? Like, that's what that's why I go back to the idea. Like, I cannot fathom the idea of working as hard as I possibly can and watching it benefit somebody else more than it benefits myself.
No.
That's feelings totally right? Isn't that crazy? No, you're all good, bro. Isn't that crazy, dude? Like, I don't know. And you gotta understand, like, these people are gonna do whatever it takes to stay on top. Because let's say I go in like a random place in the city, right? And I take 5 people here and 5 people here off the street, right? And I bring them to a basketball court and I say, hey, when the team of whichever team wins this game of basketball, right, gets the $100,000 split evenly amongst them.